What's up, people? I am back for another video. We're continuing on with the Nicolas Cage movies. Today we are doing The Rock, which came out in 1996. Awesome movie, probably my favorite. It's my favorite Nicolas Cage movie. I love the premise. I thought Ed Harris as Francis as the villain was really good. And the thing is, and I think this is gonna be a video maybe later this week. It's gonna be called like the villain problem because I'm really tired of these like sympathetic villains. Like, I'm not against having villains where you kind of understand why they're doing things, but it's still like they're still shown as villains. Like for example, the Ed Harris in this movie as Francis. I can't say his last name, but you understand the reasons he was doing it. He was fucked over by the government, and he wants to get what he feels like is owed to him. So, like, what they did in this movie is so interesting. But he's still a bad guy at the end of the day. And so basically, his men take over Alcatraz, and the government, or the FBI, and needs to come up with basically an escape, with a break-in, and then this is where we get Commander Anderson and his team, along with Stanley Goodspeed, which that's Nicolas Cage's character, and they have to get John Mason, played by Sean Connery, who, my God, he was gold in this movie. He is gold. Like, R.I.P. He is gold in this movie. I thought he was awesome in this. His dynamic with Nicolas Cage is so good. So basically they go get him, and essentially they try to do the successful break, and it goes flat, and basically it's on Mason and Goodspeed to try to stop them from triggering the missile. So that's essentially the movie in a nutshell. But this movie is great. Great action film. I love the set pieces. I like a lot of great actors in this movie. I mean, Michael Biehn's in it. Unfortunately, he dies pretty early on. Like, he dies when they initially break in, which I kind of wish maybe we got a little bit more of him, but I understand. They wanted it to be like kind of like an isolation movie where it's just Cage and Connery on their own. So I understand that is why they killed off Michael Biehn so early. I would have liked a little bit more of him, but it's understandable. And Tony Todd's in this. Like, there's a lot of people in this movie. But yeah, awesome movie. I would definitely recommend it. It's easily one of Cage's best movies. You have fun action scenes. It's not like your traditional action flick. You can almost argue it's like Connery is like he gets like the title. Like, even in like the credits, he's like the first one credited before Nicolas Cage. But definitely had to get to this movie. Tomorrow I will be doing Tremors 6. I probably will also be doing Shrieker Island, so I guess that'll be Tremors 7. I'll just review those back to back, so we can just kind of finish off with the Tremors movies. But yeah, so I'll be doing that on Tuesday, or tomorrow. But other than that, we'll be kicking off the review now. But movie opens up. We kind of see Francis and his team do like a break-in because they're trying to steal some rockets with gas for their plan. We get a kind of like a cool action scene in the beginning where they steal the rockets. One of his team members die, unfortunately. Then we see him, Francis, and his second in command, Tony. No, it might be Tony actually. Tony or Tom Baxter, which that's Tony Todd's character. Tony Todd was really good in this. He played it like you could tell he was the crazy one. Because Francis has like a more, or Ed Harris has a moral compass in this movie. Like, yeah, he's a bad guy, and what he's doing is fucked, but you could tell he has somewhat of a moral compass, and I'll get more of that when we get to a little bit later. But, so we see them take over Alcatraz and take some hostages. He basically starts making demands because he wants, the demands are, he wants what's rightfully his, is like this slush fund where he feels like his brothers didn't get rightfully compensated. So the government has to come up with a way to retake Alcatraz. So they hire chemist, Dr. Stanley, what's his last name? I'll just say Stanley. Scott Goodspeed. There you go. Played by Nicolas Cage. And I like how his arc in this movie is he's kind of nervous, like he's not used to guns and stuff. And, he's about to get married. He's engaged to his girlfriend. And basically one of the guys thinks to successfully have a successful mission, they have to get John Mason, which that's Sean Connery, because he's the only guy who actually has escaped Alcatraz. And we see them get him out. He's like, has like this long hair, like he's been in there a while. He initially refuses the mission, but then they convince him. So the guy who sets up the mission meets with Mason, or he even cuts his hair. We get kind of like a funny scene where like the hairstylist, this was at the time where you could laugh. So like the hairstylist is gonna be kind of like this flamboyant gay dude. So yeah, so Mason turns down the pardon and basically beats up on the guy and starts like a chase. We even get like a funny sequence where he takes the one, not hostage, but the guy is with him in the elevator. And he's like, oh, I just wanted to know if you like your hair. Like, they knew how to do humor. Like, I always bring this up, but like, it's because it's always something you have to point out. Or at least I have to point out. Is how often they used to just be able to do humor naturally back then and it not get in the way of the movie. So, we get like this giant chase scene because John Mason steals like a Humvee. So we get like this big chase scene which causes a lot of damage. He ends up meeting his estranged daughter, who thinks he actually is out escaping, but Stanley covers for him and says he's actually helping the FBI. So this is where we get like the briefing about the mission, and Mason and Stanley, along with Commander Anderson's team, which is Michael Biehn's character. I would have liked more of him, and that is because I am a Michael Biehn guy. I feel like he's one of those guys. I feel like I really wish he had done more. You would have thought, like, after Terminator and Aliens, I thought he would have gotten way more roles than he did, but I thought for the time we got him was enough, though. So, and then we see them getting ready to do the mission, which I really love this sequence. And, even then, this is the scene I was talking about, when they first break in to the prison. So they, get out, they swim in and to get to the entrance of the Alcatraz. And they enter through the showers. But Francis's team is alerted by this, so they're already, like, set up, and basically they set up a trap. We have a scene where Commander Anderson and Francis are having, like, a back and forth, which I really love this scene. And Anderson even mentions, like, I understand why you're doing what you're doing, but it's like, at the end of the day, this is what we were hired to do. Protect America from foreign and domestic, antagonists. It was so perfect. Just like the perfect back and forth. And like, Ed Harris's acting, man, was so good in this scene. Because he was like, no, tell your man to stand down. We have the high ground. Basically, he's like, we have the advantage. But Anderson gets his team to fight. One of Harris's team drops like a rock. Basically, they think it's a gunshot. We get a big gunfight. Fortunately, Anderson and his team, and at least most of his team, get basically eviscerated. And yeah, it's sad. It's actually a sad sequence because you can tell he didn't want to do that. Francis didn't want to do that. And it's such a good scene, man. I thought it was probably my favorite scene in the movie, just because of like the back and forth was so good, and even after, like, you could tell like he has like a moral, like he has morals, like he didn't want to just, he's not just like an evil guy just to be evil, which, and I've said that before, I'm not against villains just being evil to be evil, but sometimes I'm cool if they have like a moral, or this is where like the limit is. And then he contacts, like, because they have like a video camera on him, and he talks to like the FBI personally, and he's like, "You put me in a position I have to do that." Like, you could, like, the acting is so good from him. So Francis tries to, not Francis, fucking Mason tries to abandon the mission now because he feels like, well, it's over, and Stanley manages to stop him, and basically they decide, they start taking out some of Mason's men, and they take out the guidance system, 12 of the 15 rockets, but Mason ends up getting captured by, and then we'll get a scene between him and Harris, and I thought that scene was really good too. And basically the FBI decides to go with their second mission, which is they're going to drop a thermite bomb, or they're going to just drop a bomb in general, to what, unfortunately, that would kill civilians. But Goodspeed and Mason managed to escape. We start seeing them try to disable more bombs, and like their like chemistry throughout the film is so good. You know, I would have liked maybe like I mentioned earlier, maybe Michael Biehn survive for a bit, but I understand they wanted just those two, and I do think that was fine. And this movie has really good pacing. It's 2 hours and like 16 minutes, but it's paced very good. It gets going really good. It gets going pretty quick. Like Mace, like the first 30 minutes is already, they already have taken over Alcatraz, really. Like first 20, 30 minutes, like they have already taken Alcatraz. So the time passes for them to for the FBI to pay Harris and his people, but he decides to fire a missile at sea because he actually doesn't want to harm anyone. But Baxter, his second in command, is like, "No, I want my fucking money." Basically, we get like a giant firefight, and this is after Goodspeed and Mason get captured. So we get a giant firefight between the two because Baxter and some of his people turn on him, while Mason, like, and I think that's the thing about this movie too, is you could tell Francis has a heart. Like, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he just wants what's best for his men, and he actually didn't want, because he said it was ultimately just a diversion. So we get a giant firefight, and during the firefight, he gets harmed. Francis gets harmed and ends up dying. Before dying, he tells Goodspeed the location of the last rocket, and yeah, he ends up dying. While we have a shootout with Mason is fighting Francis people, and so Baxter confronts Goodspeed while he's taking out while he's trying to take out the last missile. He ends up activating the missile before, this is after he had taken out the gas, and that's how he kills Baxter. It was pretty brutal. Tony Todd's dad's pretty brutal. He gets fucking a rocket fired at him, and then impaled on like a fence. Like, it was brutal, man. And I think there was a scene also where earlier where fucking, like, yeah, there's some, I didn't remember there being that crazy of kills. I just assume most of the deaths in this movie is just like, oh, people getting shot. Like, fucking Mason throws a knife at a dude, like, right in his neck, and you actually see it, like, sticking out. I was like, holy shit, I did not remember this. But yeah, this is an awesome movie. And I think what makes a great action movie is just you have a simple plot. The whole premise is they're trying to stop the missiles from being armed. It's really that's mainly the mission. I mean, there's other stuff, but that's mainly the story. And I think why a lot of action movies like that work is just because of the simplicity of it. You know, simple story. I love the Alcatraz setting. And so Mason, Goodspeed starts getting shot at, but Mason takes the guy out who's shooting at Goodspeed, and basically they manage to successfully deactivate the arrows and deactivate the fucking missiles, and they win the day. The heads are calling Goodspeed, but Goodspeed said that Mason died, basically letting Mason go and go on his own. Mason and Goodspeed share like a moment, like a final goodbye type of thing. And yeah, you could that respect for each other started to grow. But yeah, he leaves, and then yeah, he has some words with some of the heads about Mason's death, and then he basically runs off with his new wife Carla in the end, and pretty much the film ends there. This is an awesome movie. One of Nicolas Cage's best. I love his character in this. I love that growth. He starts out as he's more of a scientist. He's not really into and then the scene also that I thought was probably my favorite scene between him and Mason is when he's taking out the first rocket and he's like, Mason, back the fuck up. This is science. This is my thing. I thought that sequence was funny. They had an all-around great dynamic, and as a kid, I remember always looking at this as an unofficial James Bond movie because Sean Connery was in it, and I mean, I kind of still do, but it's either way, it's an awesome movie. The fight scenes were great. I thought fucking VIP is Ed Harris, man. His villain in this is so good because yeah, he's not your typical evil villain, but they don't make it they don't try to make it that he's sympathetic. They just have, this is his motives. If you can understand it, you can understand it. But he's still ultimately a villain. And then they don't even try to redeem him in the end. They just have it to where he's dying. It just tells him where the last rocket is. At the end of the day, he's not that evil where he wants people. He'll just kill people just to kill. Even in that end scene when he before he gets shot, he sent that rocket because he didn't actually want to harm anyone. It was Tony Todd who was willing to do it. And Tony Todd was great too in this as the bad guy. Yeah, he didn't play your typical Tony Todd. He wasn't calm, cool, and collected Candyman Todd. He was a bit, he was a bit more crazier. But I thought it worked here. All around is great movie. The sequence where Anderson's people get killed is pretty sad to watch. Because, they didn't even have a chance, dude. And then, you can even tell, Francis didn't want to do that. Ugh, it's so good. Such a good movie. If I were to give this one out of 10, it would be almost a 10. I would give it a 9. I would probably give it a 9. It's a really good action movie. Easily Nicolas Cage's best. I know you can also argue, I think National Treasure could be an argument, but I really love this movie. His dynamic with Connery is so good, and Harris as the villain is good, and it's just a dope action movie of this love the mid to late 90s. So, but yeah, guys, I wanted to get this one out the way. Next Monday, actually no, the Monday after that, because next Monday I'm doing my movie pitch because I think next Monday is the last. I think next week's the last week of May, so yeah, I got to do my movie pitch. So. The next Cage movie will be Face Off. It probably won't be next Monday though. It'll be the Monday after that. So 2 weeks from now I will be reviewing Face Off, which that's another favorite of mine. That movie's kind of batshit crazy with some of the plot, but it's an awesome film. So that'll be 2 weeks from now. Tomorrow I will be doing Tremors: Cold Day in Hell, which I already watched, so I'll probably it's gonna probably be. I'll review it. It might actually even be an early review. I might review it before I have to do something tomorrow. So, yeah, before I go out tomorrow, I'll probably review it. So, but other than that, I'm gonna take one more hit and cheers to this awesome movie, and then peace out. Fuck the Biden administration. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.